Hello, movie lovers. Today I want to talk about a recent release from Arrow Video. This is a box set, a Claude Chabrol box set, Lives and Deceit, including 5 films that um, uh, from Chabrol's era from 1985 to 1994. He actually made 5 others, so it was a very busy 10 years for Chabrol, who was prolific throughout his career. I'm going to talk about the first one in the series, Cop Au Vin, but I thought I'd just briefly show what the packaging looks like. It's one of these box sets that if you pick them up, make sure you put your hand over here because they easily fall out of this box. It has one of those detachable covers that that I've kept on the packaging for now. We also get a very nice thick booklet. Full of articles, pictures from the various films. I've only read so far the articles on the Inspector Lavardin movies, which are the first 2 films in the set. Very good short essays by Philip Kemp. So let's just go briefly through what it looks like. Each movie has its own separate packaging, and they replicate the art on the outside on the discs themselves. So we have Cop Au Vin, then we have Inspector Lavardin, who features in Cop Au Vin, and was so popular that they made a sequel. Then we have Madame Bovary. This is one I've never seen. And we have Torment. Actually, I think Betty came first chronologically. This is a George Simenon, not based on one of his novels. And then we have Torment, La Infer, and I have seen this one. This is a really amazing movie in which Chabrol took Clouseau's screenplay from about 30 years before and made a film that he started. Clouseau started it, but he had medical problems and he couldn't finish it. And but the screenplay hung around, and his widow got him to do a version, Chabrol's version, in the 1990s. But let's get back to Cop Au Vin, and of course this is the original and the sequel. I'll talk about in my next video. And Chabrol, for me, is always one of the most rewatchable directors. I'll try to explain a little bit why that is. And in the supplements, each of these movies has its own individual supplements. Some of them are farther reaching. For instance, in this one, in Cop Au Vin, there's a supplement with Chabrol at the BFI 1994 being interviewed by Ian Christie, and it's just excellent. I'm sure it's been on many other releases, but I'm not sure I ever saw it before. In that interview, which in Chabrol is a very funny person in interviews, and of course he's always asked about Hitchcock and the influence of Hitchcock and Fritz Lang. And he in this interview, he says, well, Hitchcock always had great supporting players. He always gave everybody something to do. And they were always vividly drawn, and something that Chabrol certainly did in his films as well. And from Fritz Lang, he got a sense of rigor, the rigor of the camera and the camera movements and the placement of the actors. And in Philip Kemp's essay, he adds Louis Buñuel into the mix of Chabrol, and that kind of wicked sense of humor in Cop Au Vin is certainly, you can see that as a Buñuel movie, or has that same kind of tone at least. And he mentions one of Buñuel's most famous movies, The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeois, would be a apt title for many of Claude Chabrol's movies. as he is constantly, Chabrol is constantly examining the bourgeois and all the murderous impulses that reside beneath the surface of a placid lifestyle. And I mean, usually in a rural setting, Cop Au Vin also is in a rural setting, and Chabrol in that interview discusses how he never made movies in Paris, even though that's where he lived, because everything is so anonymous, and he couldn't look at it, Paris life, with a microscope. But when he went to rural areas, he could. Everybody knew everybody else. There was intimacy to their relationships. And in Cop Au Vin, there's the story, the linchpin of the story is a young man who works in a post office, lives with his disabled mother, and he's sort of henpecked by her. But the house they're living in, the property that house is on, is highly desirable real estate for the rich elite of the village, but they don't want to sell. So there's that's the tension of the film, and here we get the psycho, we get Hitchcock, and as this young man Louis, he has to carry his mother, played by Stéphane Audran, up and down the stairs, and sometimes we even see it in silhouette, and they even make a couple trips down to the basement. So you get, and there is a sense of Norman Bates and his mother in this relationship. Stéphane Audran is really over the top, and she's, obviously deranged, and but Louis loves her. He feels obligated to her, but she's making him kind of crazy too, a la Norman Bates. And but there is a young girl that he works with in the post office where they work together. And she would be called I guess the blonde bombshell of the town. She's played by Pauline Lafont, and she was the daughter of Bernadette Lafont, who was a major player in Chabrol movies and many other New Wave films. And she's really good, but she takes the shine to this young boy Louis, and she's determined she's going to be the next woman to dominate his life. So we have, and we also get a little bit of Rear Window he spies on the local doctor, one of the men trying to take away his property, he and his mother's property, and his wife has disappeared. Did she kill him? Did she not? The two of them spy on this. He's a doctor at night as he wanders through his crazy estate full of all these strange statues everywhere, and it turns them on. They get attracted to each other in the act of voyeurism. And as I say, one of the reasons Chabrol is so interesting to me is that the cinematic language that he uses. Everything is so well shot. The blocking, the mise-en-scène, and of course which he gets from Fritz Lang. And there's a really good extra supplement on here where Chabrol himself does some scene-specific commentary on 3 different scenes, and this is just absolutely brilliant. The opening, the very unusual opening credit sequence, which Chabrol was very proud of, in which a still photographer, and we see it through his subjective eye of the camera, wanders taking pictures through a outdoor house party, in which we see most of the characters of the movie, and we get some clues as to the murder mystery which is to come. There's no doubt that Inspector Lavardin is the draw of this film. And after Chabrol's golden age, which ended around 1975, Chabrol was sort of out in the wilderness. He had been with one producer throughout that golden age. They made like 15 films together, and Chabrol states in this BFI interview that he wanted to get away from what he thought his films were coming sort of formula, and he wanted to do some different kind of things, but not all of these things worked very well, and especially with the public. So Cop Au Vin was seen as a return to form for Chabrol. And so this movie was a commercial success, and it's largely based on the appeal of Jean Perrault, who plays Inspector Lavardin. Now, he doesn't come into the film until about I guess about 40 minutes into the film, and you know that was and this is Jean Perrault. And this was done, I guess, in Fargo. Marge doesn't come in until well into the movie, and so when he makes his entrance into the movie, Jean Perrault as Inspector Lavardin, he comes into to inspect an auto that's been in a car crash of where it may well have been murder, and Chabrol says in the interview that as soon as he saw Jean Perrault enter that scene, he will, voila, this is absolute perfect casting, and he was definitely right, because he really, Inspector Lavardin is a very unique, unusual kind of police inspector. Now you can't help but compare him to Maigret, and I think one of the essays in the booklet calls him the anti-Maigret, and Maigret, George Simenon's a great inspector, who often too went out into rural areas to investigate murder. But he was a whimsical kind of guy, and he loved to study the psychology of the suspects, but Inspector Lavardin is more like, he's less like a cop, he's more like Mike Hammer, you know, in Kiss Me Deadly. I mean, he's brutal. He beats up his suspects, he waterboards them, but it's all kind of funny. Like I say, this is a film with a very wicked sense of humor. And like I say, it was so successful with the public. There was the sequel, which will be the next movie I talk about. Plus, there was 4 TV movies made much more cheaply. And Chabrol and the novelist that Cop Au Vin is based on, Dominique Roulet, Chabrol and Dominique Roulet wrote all 4 of them, of the TV movies, and Chabrol directed 2 of them. So this is a film that really could use some more historical context, and unfortunately we get a commentary, and it's not very good. I mean, it's really Ben Sachs does the commentary on this and Inspector Lavardin, and it's a disappointment. There's lots of dead air. He doesn't do the research, and he evidently has not done the research, so he's very unprepared to give us anything but his own personal take on many of the scenes in the film. There's no doubt that he knows Chabrol's movies and he's thought about them. But for a commentary, this could have been about a 15-20 minute scene selection kind of commentary. It's kind of wasted. But then Kat Ellinger comes on for the 3rd and 4th movie in the series. So outside of that, I mean, I really enjoyed this film, and I've seen it a couple times before at least. I got to admit, Inspector Lavardin is kind of tough for me to take with his outbursts of violence and police procedure. He doesn't care about any of that stuff, but it caught on with the public for sure, and it helped launch Claude Chabrol and the rest of his career. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen to me this far. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. You guys take care.